And do you recall that?
I can't say for certain. It sounds right.
Okay.
I don't remember a lot of specifics. There were a lot of medications.
Okay. You're aware she wasn't prescribed all the medications at one time, but just that a lot of different combinations were kind of thrown around. Did you say that, or did she say that?
It seemed she probably said that.
Okay.
Before we get into the testimony, pay close attention to what is happening here, because this case is about to become a very detailed examination of what Lindsay was experiencing, what the people around her knew, and, perhaps most importantly, what they actually understood at the time. The questioning begins with conversations about medication, but quickly moves into something much more serious. Lindsay allegedly expressing fear that she had developed a dependence on a benzodiazepine after only 2 weeks of use. That is a major detail because the witness is being asked not simply whether she knew Lindsay was taking medication, but whether she was aware of Lindsay's concerns, her worsening depression, her sleep problems, and her fear about taking additional medication. And listen carefully to the witness's answers. Several times, we hear phrases like "I vaguely remember," "I can't say for certain," and "I don't remember." Those answers may sound ordinary, but in a courtroom, repeated uncertainty can become important when attorneys are trying to establish exactly what a witness knew and when they knew it. Then the testimony shifts to Thanksgiving, Christmas, church, family gatherings, and Lindsay appearing outwardly better. That creates a striking contrast. Someone can smile, attend church, interact with family, and still privately be struggling. So the big question for you is this: do these witnesses' memories show a clear picture of what was happening, or do the gaps and contradictions leave too many unanswered questions? Keep watching, because the questioning is about to connect these personal observations to an even more serious issue.
Now, once she was seeing Julie Paul, did you continue to have conversations with her about how she was feeling?
Yes.
And you knew that she was taking some new medications after she saw Julie, right?
Yes.
And sorry, these pages are different than mine. At some point, after being prescribed some medication, you recall that Lindsay told you that she thought she developed a benzo dependency, correct?
I vaguely remember that.
That would be on November 29th, where she says, "I just deep down inside of me feel that I've developed a benzo dependence after just 2 weeks of using it, and I feel like no one is hearing that and addressing it, and we keep throwing different meds in the mix that aren't really addressing the real issue." Do you recall that message?
It sounds familiar.
And she asks you, or you respond, "So hard, I don't know what to do, so should you not use it?" And she responds, "I guess not, but then I don't sleep," right? Do you recall that?
I can't say for certain. It sounds right.
Okay.
I don't remember a lot of specifics.
And on November 30th, she says, And I'm just gonna try to show on the screen here. He says, I'm not okay and I'm terrified of taking meds tonight. Do you see that in the green?
Yes.
And then your response is, why are you scared? Why happens if you don't take them? What are you afraid of? What about Ambien, right? You're actively trying to help her kind of figure out the medication.
Yes, there were a lot of medications.
Okay. You're aware she wasn't prescribed all the medications at one time, but just a lot of different combinations were kind of thrown around as options, right?
It seemed confusing.
This is one of the most important sections of the testimony so far, because the questioning is building a timeline rather than relying on one isolated statement. The witness acknowledges that Lindsay was dealing with multiple medications and describes the situation as confusing. We also hear Lindsay expressing specific concerns about dependence, fear of taking medication, sleep problems, and feeling that medication was contributing to her depression. But there is an important distinction here. The testimony does not establish, by itself, that any particular medication caused Lindsay's condition. What it does establish is that Lindsay was communicating concerns about her treatment and that people around her were aware that she was struggling. The attorney is clearly testing how much the witness knew about those concerns and how seriously they were understood at the time. And notice the repeated memory issue. The witness can confirm some conversations but is uncertain about other specific statements. That matters because courtroom testimony is about evidence and credibility, not simply who sounds more confident. The real tension here is between Lindsay's own reported experience and the witness's recollection of it. Do you think the witness's uncertainty strengthens the defense, weakens the testimony, or simply reflects how difficult it can be to remember conversations from a stressful period? Either way, the medication timeline is becoming a central piece of the story.
Right.
It seemed confusing.
That she's very clear and she tells you which medications she's taking, right? Ativan and Remeron.
Probably.
Okay. And then she also tells you on November 30th when you're talking about it, she says, I know they take time to reach a therapeutic level to have the desired effect, right? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And then you respond exactly. And she tells you that she's just depressed and she thinks it was brought on by the medication, right?
I don't remember that.
Okay. Well, on November 30th at 7:52, I was never ever this depressed. It was brought on by the medication. Did you say that or did she say that?
She probably said that.
Okay. Now, you were asked about the holidays and Thanksgiving. You remember Thanksgiving? Where did you guys go for Thanksgiving?
To my daughter's house.
And do you remember telling the grand jury that during Thanksgiving things were better?
I don't recall.
Well, do you remember her saying that she said things were better? Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Okay. You were asked, what was Lindsay like during the big Thanksgiving gathering? What observations did you make? Answer, she smiled. The girls all had Thanksgiving t-shirts on that sort of matched. We took a picture. She mostly focused on the kids and interacting with the cousins and the aunts and uncles. At one point, she went off a little into the distance, and I approached and asked her how she was doing, and she said, I'm trying hard to get better. I'm still working at it. I asked about her sleep. I thought that was important, and also the fact that she lost some weight. She didn't have an appetite, and she said things were getting better.
Okay.
Now, during the holidays, you in fact took some time off of work so that you were around a little bit more, correct?
Correct.
And so when you were around a little bit more, did you spend all day, every day at their house?
No.
Fair to say you would come sometimes play with the kids, right?
Yes.
Do shopping for her.
Correct.
And then you actually went on vacation.
Yes.
You and your husband went to Aruba?
Yes.
How long were you in Aruba?
5 or 6 days, I think.
And now moving towards Christmas, you had dinner with them at their house on the 23rd, right?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember breakfast on Christmas Day?
Yes.
Was that at their house or someplace else?
Their house.
Okay. And then what did you guys do after breakfast?
We went to church.
And fair to say you've previously testified that breakfast was great
Yes.
and that church was beautiful.
Yes.
And in fact, the defendant, she told you that it was great and that she was glad she went to church that day on Christmas Day.
Yes, she did.
And then after that, you're aware they went down to Connecticut to see her family.
Right.
Now, are you an active member in the Catholic Church?
Yes.
So you're aware that murder is considered a mortal sin?
Now the testimony takes a significant turn. Up to this point, the questioning has focused heavily on Lindsay's medications, her mental state, family interactions, and how she appeared during the holidays. But now the attorney introduces the witness's Catholic faith and asks about the religious understanding of murder as a mortal sin. That line of questioning is clearly intended to explore the witness's beliefs and whether those beliefs affected how she viewed the conduct being discussed. There is also a fascinating contrast developing in the testimony. On one hand, we have descriptions of Lindsay smiling at Thanksgiving, spending time with family, having breakfast on Christmas morning, attending church, and saying that church was beautiful and that she was glad she went. On the other hand, earlier messages described fear, depression, medication concerns, and difficulty sleeping. Those facts are not necessarily contradictory. Someone struggling emotionally can still participate in family traditions, smile for photographs, attend church, or tell loved ones that things are improving. Outward appearance does not automatically reveal someone's internal state. That distinction is critical when evaluating testimony about someone's mental and emotional condition. And now ask yourself, how much weight should a courtroom place on outward behavior compared with private statements about fear, depression, or medication? The answer depends on the evidence, the context, and ultimately how the fact finder evaluates the testimony. The next portion of the transcript moves the timeline forward again, and that could become even more significant.
Counsel, could I see you over here? All right, and what that means is you are not to consider it for any reason or any purpose, okay? All right, counsel.
So you were aware, Mrs. Clancy, about the stay at McLean Hospital from January.
At this point, the testimony has established several major themes. Lindsay was communicating concerns about medication and possible dependence. She described significant depression and fear around taking medication. The witness remembered some of those conversations only vaguely, and the holiday testimony presented a more outwardly positive picture, including family gatherings, Christmas breakfast, and church. The questioning then moved into the witness's religious beliefs and the concept of murder as a mortal sin before transitioning toward the January hospital stay. But there is an important limitation we need to be completely clear about. The transcript provided here ends at 9:40, during a question about the January stay at MLAN Hospital. It does not include the remainder of that testimony, the judge's final ruling, or a complete disposition of the case. So it would be inaccurate to invent a verdict or claim that the court reached a particular conclusion based only on this excerpt. What we can say from the material provided is that the attorneys are carefully examining what the witness knew, what Lindsay communicated, how her behavior appeared to others, and whether the witness's memories are consistent and reliable. Those are significant credibility and timeline issues. So now it's your turn. Which part of this testimony stands out to you most? The medication concerns, the conflicting memories, the holiday observations, or the discussion of religious beliefs? Let us know what you think. And if you found this case as shocking as we did, make sure to hit that like button. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns.